Masked Hero.
Hello everybody and welcome to another installment of Saturday Morning Champions. I'm kind of revamping this entire video series because originally it was just me playing the game on a Saturday morning, and while I loved that idea, one of the problems was that I would often run into issues where it's like I just don't have the time to do the edited gameplay even at a minimal level like that was with putting the cards up and everything and adding music. So what I've decided to do is just take a twist on it, kind of revamp it so that it's something that I could probably do, at least 2 times a month. And so I'm kind of turning it into a bit of a pseudo podcast, more of a discussion thing where we can sit down and kind of just like talk about a random topic involving the game from time to time on a Saturday morning and just, have breakfast with me. But today, it's not exactly going to be that, because what we're doing is we are prepping for Con of Heroes 2026. Several content creators, such as The Winning Hand, both hosts there, have gone in the direction of kind of making a theme as to what they're going to be bringing. And I thought about this and I realized what I wanted to do was I wanted to basically build around the idea of going outside of my comfort zone. And so every deck, maybe not every deck, but I'm going to bring 4 decks, one of each aspect of the core aspects, and maybe I'll even get pooled by the end of this, but I'm going to be building outside of my comfort zone. So I'm taking hero and playing them in an aspect that I just don't have a lot of experience with. And that's what this video is going to be, is showing off the 4 decks that I have built thus far. And this is completely open-ended because this is outside of my comfort zone. So this is going to be stuff that I don't necessarily know if I have the right build. And I want to get your feedback. I want feedback. We're about 3 weeks out. Just what you would do to these decks, keeping the same aspect, the same hero, and the same general theme that I've brainstormed, and try to make it better. I'm trying to build these for multiplayer settings, so there are going to be parts of this where I have 2 of cards. You can only have 1 in play because I do plan to pass them out to other people. Let's just get right into it, and let's just talk about each of the decks, what my general thought is. I'm not going to go card by card, but just here's the cards I did pick, here's why I picked them. And we'll start off right with the first deck that kind of kicked all this off, and that is a leadership Scarlet Witch deck. Some people in my comments on my top 10 heroes were commenting on this, and I was like, oh, that's a really good idea that I've never really considered. Even though I'm a very big Sidekick fan, I've never considered doing Sidekick with Wanda. The core of this deck is obviously going to be built around the fact that Quicksilver is an ally that can ready back up and give him Sidekick, which is going to give him more hit points so he can do that double up thing. He's got a total of 6 hit points. He's going to be able to attack for a bunch of damage over the course of 3 turns, or thwart over the course of 3 turns. But because we care about being an alter ego, because Wanda has her superpowered siblings ability where she can discard 2 cards from my hand to draw 2, 3 if Pietro's in play, all the better. We are going to be aiming towards trying to be an alter ego as much as possible and discarding 2 cards to draw 3 cards because Pietro's in play, because Pietro has more health. And whenever we are healing up, we're doing a basic recovery, we're going to be healing up Quicksilver. I think that just as a core is going to be a really strong thing. We're going to add to this. Like I said, I do have a little bit more than normal. I've got Team Training, 2 copies of it because I want to give each of my allies an extra hit point, but I wouldn't mind, one, I'd want to have that in play, but also I want to be able to pass that out to somebody else if they are somebody who is, an aggression deck or a justice deck that has a little bit more of the higher ally limit or plays more allies than normal. I can give them an extra hit point. Maybe they can get extra use out of everything. Obviously, we have Suit Up, which is one that cares about being an alter ego. We do care about being an alter ego. I leveraged that by saying, hey, what if I have Clarity of Purpose in my deck? And this is just an extra way to not only find Sidekick, but Clarity of Purpose. We have Inspired just as another upgrade that we can grab with Suit Up. Make our Quicksilver that much better. This is already a card that I would have wanted to play with Quicksilver, but now that I've got my head in this headspace, this is absolutely what I'd like to do. Effective Leadership is a card that I think I could probably swap out, but as of right now, I am ally focused. What if I make whatever ally I play, in this case, hopefully Quicksilver, what if I just make him that much better? And then, yeah, overall, just like Summoning Spell is just a way to find an ally. We've got 5 of them in the deck. Nothing too splashy. I'm picking Nick Fury Sr. because I think that Nick Fury as a hero is going to be pretty popular. And also I just want to dodge Nick Fury Jr. as an ally in play. I'm not as worried about drawing extra cards with Nick Fury, the core set version. So if I only draw 2 off of him, great. And I also think that shield characters are going to be a little bit more popular this year. So why not give a tough status as like a third option to maybe a compatriot? We've got Melinda May, who's going to be able to let us look at the top card of the encounter deck, which is only going to help Wanda. Again, this is something that I had not necessarily considered in the last year. Could be added to Wanda, but this is absolutely a card that I'd want to have in there. And then Iron Lad, just as a way to take what we're doing with our cards and just make them that much better. We can take Quicksilver, take his stats. We don't need to do the consequential damage. Just add the stats to Iron Lad and go to town. And then Domino is just a card that I think just giving that extra card selection, being able to swap cards out is going to be a good thing. Overall, there's not too much more to this deck that I really care about. I do think Jarvis is a card that jumped out to me because I do plan to be an alter ego. What if I give myself 2 extra recovery? What if I can just take a Confused off or something? That's a card that I'm testing out, but not something that I'm sold on. And yeah, overall, this is not a locked-in deck, but this is where I'm starting with Wanda. And basically, as I said, the core of it is just trying to make Quicksilver work with Sidekick. I think he's actually a really good candidate for that I had not really truly considered until this past week. Rolling over to Shuri, she's going to be my aggression deck. I don't really think of Shuri as an aggression hero that often. To be honest, I just don't think of Shuri a lot in general, and I want this to be a way for me to maybe fall in love with Shuri a little bit more. We're going to be focusing on firepower. I think that's a good card to do. As I looked through some other decks, I did agree with this general sentiment that she's somebody who can just go grab her Panther claws, so she already has a weapon to turn on firepower. But then the question is, what do we do after that? And I am a big fan of Godslayer. I think you're always attacking so many unique enemies that let's take advantage of that and let's get Godslayer in there. And then Hand Cannon is just another card that I really like in aggression. And if I can get a chance to use it, maybe use firepower, because as I said with Tigra, you have her claws and you don't always use them to do overkill or piercing. Well, you have the Hand Cannon. You're not always making an attack, so why don't we turn that into a way to have this thing that will sit here and will deal 3 damage, and then when I am attacking, I can get that extra boost of attack, get some overkill. And I guess additionally, thinking about it, because Shuri wants to be attacking, because she wants to be using her basic powers to do things, let's lean into that. Let's give ourselves extra activations like something like Battle Fury, which we can only have, again, we can put it under any player's control. This is probably going to end up under our control because we're just going to burn through it. We're going to try to take out a minion, deal damage to ourselves, ready ourselves back up so that we can use another power. That's kind of where my head is at with all of this. Gemma could be swapped out. I do think she has a good reason to be here because we do have a lot of tech, and not everything's going to be reduced in cost with our alter ego. Moon Girl is just an easy pick. We don't get to use her enough as it is, so why not use her here? I will say that I might not have the level of genius resources that I would like to get full use out of Moon Girl, so that's another point of like I'm open-ended about this. Sunfire, I just figure we've got enough variety in what I could be running into at Con of Heroes. Why not give myself the ability to handle a hero action or hero response card? And then Swordsman is just a new card that I'm just wanting to try out. Oh, she has 11 hit points. I was thinking she had 10. Or 10 or 9, but she has low enough hit points, or I want to preserve her hit points enough that why not keep Swordsman there? It's just a card that can be declared as a blocker if the boost cards do happen to get out of hand. A lot of this is in flux. The core of this deck is just trying to use firepower. Savage Strike is another card. I care about my basic activations, so why not make my basic attack even better? But I would say the core of this is just going to be the Godslayer, the Hand Cannon, the firepower, and kind of that's about it. Everything else is pretty mutable. I could do pretty much anything with, and this is just where I've landed at this point. So, give me advice. What would you change about this deck to just sort of like hit on this this general theme? Moving on to Nick Fury, I was looking through some protection decks and was like, oh my gosh, and just protection decks in general. And I saw Nick Fury and I was like, I have never once considered what a Nick Fury deck in protection would look like. So let's explore that. And so this goes a little bit more shield themed, using Agent 13 to turn on Sky Destroyer more than once a turn. It seems like a really great idea to me. Government Liaison, just helping to pay down these shield cards and really leaning into them. We've got Black Widow, who's a shield card. We've got Dum Dum Dugan, who's a shield card. And we've got White Widow, who's also a shield card. I will say that I have not necessarily fallen in love with Yelena like I thought I was going to, but let's give her a chance, because we do have enough preparations that are already in his kit. We don't need to build into them too much. We do have ready to fight, which I think is really going to help in the fact that we have our suit, and it comes in multiple flavors. But what does it look like when we are an alter ego and we can switch to hero form but still have, because what is it? When the villain would scheme. So we're already in a position where the villain's going to be scheming. So why don't we switch to hero form and keep that as a scheme, but now we got that free transition, and we get to use it for preparation, which means we get to do White Widow. Not to mention, there was another card in here, right, that cared about preparations. I feel like there was. What am I? I don't have prepared plan in here, do I? That might be a good idea to sub that in. Outside of that, I want to explore what first hit looks like. Now, I have looked into the rules. The hero interrupt part, when a minion initiates an attack, if I'm already in the stealth suit form, that's a no-go. The timing does not work out for that. But for one, being able to deal 2 damage to the villain or to a minion when I am in the right form, when I am in my assault suit form, also means that I can remove threat from my assault suit form to turn that into 5 damage for one, or well, actually 5 damage for one for either one of them. And I want to explore, what does that look like? What does the curve look like when we kind of change that to say, hey, what if this was 1 for 3 or 1 for 4? How good is that? Stronger Together was definitely something that I cribbed from somebody else's deck. I was like, well, if I'm playing enough shield, Stronger Together is a good card, so why not go with that? There's not a whole lot that changes here. I do think that just Ready to Fight is kind of essential. I think the allies that I have here are pretty essential. Dum Dum Dugan could be swapped out, but I'm always looking for reasons to play Dum Dum, so why don't I take full advantage of that? And then First Hit is a card that I don't want to change, because I want to explore what does First Hit look like in Nick Fury, because he can augment the way that the attacks work. But other than that, there's not too much more to change. The Power in All of Us made it in because there's enough basic cards in here that I think it will be a double resource on the regular. But I know I've probably given a lot of caveats without even intending to. But this is just kind of like what I'm looking at and what I'm hoping to bring to the con. And again, it's outside of my comfort zone, so let me know if there is just something that I'm completely overlooking that is just the spice of life for Nick Fury. And the last deck to talk about today, and this was taken from, I will put it up on the screen. I'll link it in the bio as well. Actually, let me look it up right now. I'm just going to pause and look it up real quick, just so that I make sure that I'm giving the proper credit. Yeah, so this was taken right from the episode 88 episode from like 2 months ago. I got 3 months ago. So I literally went down and clicked, or no, I literally clicked copy to make this version of the deck, and then switch some stuff out. Oh yes, I took out Yellow Jacket because I was Yellow Jacket's kind of everywhere for me. But either way, the full transparency, this deck is influenced by that. But I don't really know necessarily what the spirit of this deck's going to be. I just kind of want to explore Hulkling, and I feel like Justice is an aspect that I have not considered him in, and I'd like to kind of just play around with it. I switched over to Superpower Training because what I don't want to do is, the other one was the one that gives out all the basic, you get a boost in this stat and you get something. It was Specialized Training. So I took that out because I am going to be playing with a bunch of strangers, and I don't want to have that pressure of like, oh, make sure that I get all my cards back. Obviously, that will come with just about any deck. There's always that chance you're passing something out. Like I said, I've got supports in other decks that want to pass stuff out, but minimize the amount of cards that are being sent across the table so that nobody needs to be like, oh, let me track down this person again later in the game, or later in the convention. Overall, I liked what was going on here. I just liked the amount of using Manifold to look for side schemes. We've got enough side schemes. We can always ask other people if they have any side schemes. Chance and Counter to add side schemes. Followed to add to them. And then just the overall, I'm pretty sure that adding 3 Steps Ahead was a choice of mine, because I felt like I have enough variety here. I mean, obviously I could have more physical resources, but that 3 Steps Ahead was at least a card worth, checking out. And then Turn the Tide is just a good way to deal some damage. In fact, I actually, now that's how to think about it, I should turn the tide into some Justice Nick Fury decks. But overall, this is what I'm looking at. I'm trying to play outside of my comfort zone. This Con of Heroes, I did put this at the end of a video, but I'll even say it here at Con of Heroes. I will be running my Count Nefaria custom scenario as much as possible with as many people as want to play it, but I'm really excited to just see what happens when we just throw everything at it and just play a little bit of a, a little bit of a different game. But obviously have enough videos with my face on them, so if you want to, just hopefully I will not be unrecognizable. I generally will be wearing something that is Asgard and Valkyrie and stuff coded for the tournaments or for the convention, so my shirt should be a dead giveaway as well. But let me know what you would change about these decks. Have a good day, and I will see you in the next one. You're doing great. Keep it up.